Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Monday. Up and at 'em. Let's go. Yeah, time to start the work week. So, what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about some of the redos and how sometimes the simple fixes need to be fixed, and why, if you don't, they can lead to major breakdowns. And also how customers respond to redos. This should be good, right? So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, the 8th of September. So, what are we talking about today? I'm talking about, let's start off with redos. Alright? And if you send something out and it has the same issue, my feeling is that's on us. We had it here. We supposedly fixed it. We sent it back out. And all of a sudden, it's having the same issues as it was before. And there have been many a times where we would actually go to the customer's house and watch them use that unit. And as I said in another video, for a few of them, it was simply they just weren't heavy enough for the seat. So we had to adjust the seat so that their keister was keeping enough weight on the seat switch. But if they hit a bump, it bounced them up and the engine would cut out and it would start going again. And they thought that it was fluttering when it actually was the kill mechanism in the seat switch. Well, case in point, we had a customer that normally brings us their machine every year. Okay, we do a service and we do all the repairs on it. We did not see it last year. So we just went, well, they may have updated, right? That's possible. A lot of our customers do. So then we get a call this year, and we're having problems with the PTO. It's not working. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not working? Well, the PTO quit, so I went online and I bought one off eBay, and I put it on, and it worked for just like 20 minutes, and then it quit working again. You're going to have to fix it. See, the first mistake was him going out on eBay and buying a PTO clutch when he probably didn't need a PTO clutch to begin with. What ended up being the culprit was where it snaps together. He had taken a screwdriver and bent the barbs up to the point where they snapped right off. And he just stuck the two connections back together. Well, what happens when you have vibration? It starts vibrating that connection. And next thing you know, it's not getting good contact, so it quits. So we brought it to the shop, and I told Claude, I said, because he told me, he said it's the switch, where it plugs together. It came unplugged. I said, all right, get it plugged back together. If we don't have the clips, put it together and then zip tie it and then black tape it. It went back out. And it wasn't a day. And his wife was calling saying, it's doing the same thing, Eric. Okay, so out we went, picked it back up again, brought it back to the shop. Claude extended the whip so that the switch, this parts were on top of by the engine instead of underneath, figuring that would solve the problem. She hasn't got it. 3 passes around the yard and it did it again. So I went out with the trailer. And at this time, the customer is beyond happy of seeing you because it's happened too many times for the same thing. Now they're irate and they're frustrated, and they should be. I don't blame them one bit. I get there, load it on the trailer, and then I see that the white clip is not zip tied, not black taped. It's just stuck together, and it has vibrated loose enough so that when I squeeze it, I can hear it pop. And when I heard it pop, I heard the PTO in and out. Get back on the lawnmower, start it up, back it off the trailer, put the PTO on, runs like a charm. Grab some black tape out of the truck. I black taped the heck right out of it so that it was snug. I stayed there for half an hour watching her mow the yard to make sure that nothing was going to happen. If it was, I was going to be right there. But in between, there's 4 different trips out there that were on me because we didn't do just a simple fix. And the simple fix would have been just take a clip off one of our junkers, wire it in, and then have a new clip where it locked in, where he had broke the ears off from it from putting the other PTO clutch on. I don't like redos because it's not, Claude doesn't pay for it, I pay for it. And he's like, well, that's not right. You shouldn't have to, eat the bill when we're doing repair work. I said, yeah, but when we're doing the same repair work that it came in for, I feel obligated that if I send it out and it's coming back for the same thing, that means we didn't do our job of a front to back to make sure that we got the issue. And one of the things that I do in the shop is if it comes back for a bad PTO switch or where, I still do a front to back on it. Because if I can find something on that machine that might be a simple fix that will keep it from getting into a major breakdown, I will do it. And I will point it out to the customer that I did it and not charge them for it as well. Every repair job is not going to be a billable receipt. And I think, Amos, you and Jason would probably top the list of you need to put out excellent work, not shoddy work, excellent work every time, because that's your reputation. If you get known for your last job is shoddy and you didn't do a good job, how well do you think it's going to go on around this community when they find out that, Pam had her zero turn here 5 different times for the same issue before it finally got resolved? Not well. It doesn't say a lot about us, does it? That's why you need to keep the number of redos down in your shop. Or if you're doing it nights and weekends, do a good job every time. If it takes a little longer, take a little longer. But do it right. Don't send out half-ass work. And I've had mechanics work for me that if it comes in for this specific thing, that's all they're willing to do. They don't do a front to back. And I'm like, no. You do a front to back no matter what it comes in for. Because you're looking at it to see if there's anything else that could be causing an issue for that season. If they only want an oil change and the belt sharpened, don't change the plugs, don't change the fuel filter. Here's where I lay the law down. I run my own shop. Okay? I don't have customers dictating to me what they need and what they don't need. If they're bringing it to me, it's because they need. Okay? And this follows along the same philosophy of not wanting a bunch of redos. As, I know with you, Jason, some plugs will last 20 years. I replace the plugs every time because I don't want them breaking down after it leaves the shop. 2 weeks later, a week later, and we have a plug issue. I replace the fuel filter even if it looks clean and everything because there's still contaminants, particulates in that filter. It's a $6 part. Throw it on. Oil filter, oil, blades, belts, and then a pressure wash, especially if the engine is all caked up. I've had machines come in that were just horrendous, and the customer didn't recognize their own machine when they saw it after it was pressure washed. And I explained to them that when it gets built up around the engine with that oil from maybe the oil plug not being tight, or the oil filter not being tight. I've seen that on both, of where it just saturates the whole engine, and after a couple of years it's baked right on, and the engine can't get rid of the heat because it's got a 1/4 inch of just baked on sludge. And then you're going to go and have serious breakdowns. If that sucker gets too hot, it's going to start breaking it down and wearing it down faster. And Jason, you can kind of say more on that point because you're more mechanical than I am. But heat is not good for anything as far as I'm concerned. That's why they make them out of aluminum. So what do we got going on in the shop? Well, let's see. We got a Ford New Holland that they broke the loader bolts right off in the frame. It's cast. We just brought in a Ford 1600 compact that has no hydraulics. That was a fiasco trying to get that onto the trailer Saturday. It was raining out, and the guy said it's running and driving. And the problem is that the bucket, you can't lift it. I don't know how he had it in the air to start with, but we tried ratchet straps. We tried, trying to put up pressure, down pressure. And the only way we could do it, because we didn't have the jump box with us for the winch, was to back it on. Because the bucket, he tried driving it on, and the bucket went right into my end gate and started ripping up the corrugated, I don't know what you call it, but it's like fencing on top of supports. So I had him stop, and I said, turn it around and back it up on. Well, he got almost up in the trailer, but the bucket hit the ground, and the ass end started spinning on the wet wood surface. And you couldn't go ahead because now the bucket is sitting on the ground. So I had to pull up underneath him, go all the way back to the shop, get the jump pack, because my jump pack said 100%, but it wouldn't run the winch. Grabbed my son's snap-on jump pack. We hooked onto underneath it to pull it on, and the bucket got so high in the air, and the actual cable snapped, trying to have it come in. So I ended up taking and tying a bunch of knots to the ass end of it, and we got it onto the trailer backwards. So yesterday, Claude and I took a quick look at it and just backed it into the shop, left it right on the trailer for now. That's going to be looked at this morning. We have a John Deere that came in, it was just loaded with water. It's one of our neighbors. She got it from her mechanic on time. All I can figure is her mechanic doesn't like her. Because it's a John Deere, but it's a POS. She's been whipped a lot of times. And I know the young lady doesn't have a lot of money to spare. So this is going to be I don't know. But I want it running and driving for her. We've got to finish up an engine swap that we took off from a Toro onto a Cub Cadet. I got to pick up a International up in Colton. I got a skid steer in Governor. I've got a David Brown. Is it a 1210 four-wheel drive? It's having hydraulic issues. There's enough to keep us busy. That's for sure. I want to get my dozer in, because I want to be able to use the dozer. I bought all brand new steering clutches for it. Claude put it in the one side, but he can't get it to work right. So I don't know whether he's got something in there wrong, or I've been kind of looking around locally to see if there's anybody out there that could come and work with him to get the steering clutches done. I'm willing to pay for it, because I used that dozer a lot when it was doing well, but it's been sitting now for 2 years. It's a diesel. We start it up every year. But the main theme of today is a lot of times if you can address things when they're small and take care of it before it leads to a bigger breakdown, you're saving the customer money, you're doing right by your customer. And it's not that you don't want the work, but I'm telling you right now, major breakdowns like engines, customers aren't going to rebuild them. So you might better fix it and bill for fixing it when it's minor than letting it get to full-blown catastrophic. You can only control just so much, and that is the time that it's there with you. Once it leaves, you don't know what they're using it for. I had one guy that was actually mowing a hayfield to feed his beef cows. He had a bagger on an old Sabre, and he would go through a set of blades on that thing 3 times a year. Belts a lot. But he was out there with that freaking Sabre out in the hayfield, cutting it, blowing it into his bagger, and then feeding his cows twice a day. I told him, I said, that's what they have farm equipment for, not lawnmowers. Try to limit the number of redos by doing a good job every time. Do a front to back. Even when it's not there for a front to back, it doesn't take only an extra 5-10 minutes to do a front to back. And if you get that in your repertoire of this is what I'm going to do every time. I'm going to start with the front tires, steering, belts, pulleys, work your way back, spindles, rear axle, check fluids, listen for any grinding, any whining, any tinging when the PTO engages is one of the blades nicking somewhere. Those are things that you can do every time it comes to your shop. So what are the things that you do to limit the number of redos you have when you're doing things? And you can even chime in, Amos, because you were in the engineering part of it as far as producing products that needed to be 100%. If you want Chinese crap, go buy Chinese crap, right? So on that note, you guys have a great Monday, and we'll catch you here bright and early for tomorrow's edition of The Weekday.